Who traded Nazem Kadri? Who?
Himself.
Kyle Dubas. Or actually, well, Nazem Kadri.
Naz traded himself.
Yes, you got it right.
Naz traded him.
Yeah.
Nazem Kadri traded Nazem Kadri.
Yeah.
Now, we yelled at Kyle Dubas for the return, but Nazem Kadri pulled the trigger on that trade.
Mm-hmm. And blocked another one that would have brought TJ Brody to Toronto in the first place. So not only that, Naz screwed us in the playoffs and then screwed us in the offseason. People do forget that.
Yep.
And
sure did.
Yes, I understand that's his contractual right, but let's call it what it is.
He traded himself, and he got to pick to where. Lucky him. But he traded himself. The Leafs and Mitch Marner, that the contract saga was so ugly and so horrible, and everyone hated it. And then we said, well, now you're getting paid star money. Why don't you go out there and be a star? And you know what Mitch Marner did? He went out and he was top 5 in NHL scoring.
The first year with his contract?
No, but there was an injury involved and a coach firing and blah, blah, blah. And his points per game was very good. It was very good. So, and then obviously the Panini happens.
Yeah.
This year we go, all right, you got a full season ahead of you. Well, a full you got a new start anyway. You got a blank slate ahead of you. And this dude finishes top 5 in scoring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He led the team in points in the Panini season too, did he not?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah. And you know, the games where Matthews was out, he was still very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talk about needing to step up, and he did.
Let me throw a stat at you. Mitch Marner has never scored less than 42 assists in a season.
That's good. So many assists.
That's insane. His highest, 68. It's a lot of assists.
Pretty good.
And he had 47 in 55 games this year.
And scored at his highest goal scoring clip.
Yes. Would you say, Jesse, was on track for 30?
There's a 30 goal pace. Yeah. 82 game season.
That's pretty damn good.
So outside of, let's pretend he did fine in these playoffs, but they lost anyway. Let's pretend he got 2 goals, 3 assists.
It's a whole different 48 hours.
No, it's not. And here's why.
Okay.
It is. It's the flavors. The flavor's a little different. The flavor's a little different, but the truth I am about to say remains the same.
Okay.
And it's cold.
Let's hear it.
Our warm, dumb human brains will think about it differently, but here's the ice cold truth. After that stupid, awful, shitty, poorly executed saga was over, all they had was games, and he did well in them, but they signed a 6-year contract thinking that by the end of it, the cap would be at least $90 million. Mitch Marner didn't ask for a pandemic. Kyle Dubas didn't ask for a pandemic. Darren Ferris certainly didn't ask for a pandemic. None of the parties involved asked for the situation that we're in that has turned all our lives upside down and, for hockey purposes, kept the cap flat this year, probably next year, and who knows how far into the future. And the difference is you need to seriously evaluate. This is before this season even began. The difference is now that your plan is shot. We're going to sign these guys. It'll be expensive, but it'll get cheaper as the contract goes on. That plan is shot by the pandemic. So his top 5 scoring performance alone, before that even happens, the plan is shot. And now that they had the terrible performance in the playoffs, you need to literally call teams. You have to call teams and offer them this player. Now, you're under no obligations to trade this player. You don't want to emotionally trade this player. You can keep this player. You can keep this player and he'll do great for you. He will. But the reality of 2021 is not the reality that you signed this contract in 2019. Was it 2019? I think it was 2019.
I think it was.
Your reality is worlds apart from that one. And you need to seriously consider trading this player.
The only thing I'll say to that is in your world, he could have had a playoff performance that justified $11 million.
Yep.
And then, like you said, Kyle Dubas built a great team with him on the roster, so he could do it again, and he could have just showed up and performed like the amount of money, and then you wouldn't have to trade him.
Yeah, I'll say this. It's very unlikely you win a Mitch Marner trade. So I don't.
Well, I got a few things to say about that, but we can keep going with this, guys. I want to address that one particularly.
Sure. Like you don't trade him for nothing, and you're not eager to trade him, but you have to start the dialogue.
I don't think Mitch Marner is unique enough to the point where you can't not trade him. Because Austin Matthews in his role is a once in a generation guy. Mm-hmm. But there's not the left wing first line slot isn't so unique that you can't get a player who will lead your team to victory in that role in the lineup.
Yeah,
for Mitch Marner. Right wing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can't get another right winger on a first line that can help your team win. If that makes sense.
It does. And like Nicholas Backstrom never once got, or I think asked for, Alex Ovechkin money. We knew who the star was. We knew who put the puck in the net. You put most valuable primate out there with Alex Ovechkin. He'd probably set him up for a couple one-timers, for God's sake. Not taking anything away from one of the most underrated players of a generation in Nicholas Backstrom. But I don't think the Capitals for 1 minute were like, let's give these guys a near equal amount of money. And
right. You don't have to win the trade. You just have to win the slot in the lineup that's going to help you win a round in the playoffs. Because like I see one of the big conversations that's happened in the last 2 days is, okay, it takes teams in the NHL it takes cores a lot of kicks at the can to win in the playoffs. It took Ovechkin from the day he was drafted until 2018 to win a Stanley Cup.
2004 to 2018.
It took Tampa Bay so many chances, and then they lost, and they got swept by Columbus, and they still ran it back again because the GM and the whole club believed in them. They brought back the core.
2 trips to the Cup final.
You don't trade Crosby and Malkin just because they have a bad playoffs. Like I've seen that a whole bunch of times, and like I worked at the Zoo story is bringing up the 2019 Toronto Raptors because that's my favorite sports team of all time. And like with that championship run, I learned that the regular season means nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I feel bad for Leafs fans next year because they're got to sit through 82 games and realize that, hey, it means absolutely nothing. Your 82 games. It's about.
I can't wait to do LFR for 82 games.
You got to do it. It's your job. So
they don't matter, but they don't matter.
Like, they don't.
They're exhibition. There's exhibition, and then there's exhibition that counts, and then there's the playoffs.
Right. You have your warm up. It's your 82 games, and then that's your warm up to win in the playoffs. But the thing about the kicks of the can with this team is that the bar is so low. With all of those franchises, with, hey, Malkin and Crosby, they had a bad playoffs. You don't trade them. Ovechkin didn't win a cup till 2018. The bar for Matthews and Tavares and Nylander and Marner isn't to win the Stanley Cup or go on a deep run. It's just to win a round.
Yes.
The bar for fans is, hey, close out one series. You've had 5 tries at this.
One series with 3 attempts to do it.
It's not go win a championship. It's win a round and we'd be happy. So that's why I'm like, hey, there's a couple guys here. You didn't show up in the only part of the season that matters. You showed up in the preseason where you got to practice to get into the playoffs. You showed up there, but then you didn't show up again in the playoffs. You don't get another kick at the can because your bar for success is at the ground. You can walk over it, and you couldn't do that. At some point, you can't. So,
if I might, I was listening to, and a lot of the attention circles around Mitch Marner, and I think it should. You have high-paid players that you expect things from. It's funny with Matthews. I know he'll figure it out. With Nylander, honestly, there are focus issues there. But if that guy was on his game like he was,
goals.
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is I'm talking about the regular season.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But you're right, 100%. He was spectacular. I thought he was the best player in the series for the Leafs. Him and Jack. My issue is, and the reason why I tweeted what I tweeted, which was, I think this is very likely Mitch Marner's last game in Toronto. It wasn't an emotional thing.
Nope.
What I saw this series,
cold.
It was cold. What I saw this series, Steve, you bring up the cap considerations. And by the way, there's going to be a lot of people going, who the hell would take that albatross of a contract? Well,
everybody.
48% of it's been sold, been paid. So as soon as July 1st hits, that will be the percentage of it that's paid. Mitch Marner's average, I think, is going to be $6.25 million in actual dollars. And people
in
are
cash.
Like, yeah. And people will be like, well, who the hell could take a cap hit of 11 million? Well, there's plenty of teams that would love to have that and they want dead money. There's a lot of teams that want dead money because it means they fill the cap space without actually having to pay the player. It's great. Now,
it's here. Sorry. Well, It's as if Luke Fox is listening to our show somewhere on one of our walls. He just tweeted, fun fact, since joining the team, Mitch Marner leads the Toronto Maple Leafs in playoff points per game with 0.78.
Okay. So
that makes me feel so much worse. This
I'd
guy's
like
the best one.